And we're off to the races. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm super beyond stoked. It's a beautiful President's Day. It's raining rather crazy out there. It's so bad. People are kayaking right in front of my house. No joke. I saw somebody go by and I was like, hey, and that person couldn't swim. So the little whatever it was he was on capsized. A good thing is that we're watching everything from up here from the second story, and I live way up high and I could look down and appreciate the water as it's sort of like refreshing and because it hardly rains in LA, in SoCal we don't get as much rain, and all the people up there up north are laughing at us. But thankfully, when we do get rain, we panic. They send all these amber alerts and special alerts that there's going to be water, there's floods, prepare sandbags and whatnot. And but it's a way for the earth to get cleansed naturally, and God does a job at that and blessing us. So I'm completely excited, beyond myself, beside myself, because this next episode is great. I have a talented storyteller, a storybook board artist, right? Because as a storyteller, some people do the storyboards. This guy's not only that; he's a character designer. So anime character designer. Does cartoons, and he's also an illustrator. So clearly, he does it all. My man is wonderful. He's one of a kind. He's a great dude. This man is not only a great guy, he's also a veteran, Air Force veteran. And let's give it up for the one and only Errol Petgrave III.
Wow, Jim, what an entrance. That was amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate those kind
Yeah,
words of wow.
I can.
I
I,
appreciate
that
having me.
was just. I was warming up. Let me start over again. No, I'm kidding. Thank you so much for making it out to the show. Obviously figuratively, since we're at the comfort of our home, but the rain is a real thing. Is it raining over by your place?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's pouring down. Like you said, it's a cleansing of the earth. I need
Yes,
to go
sir.
get my car washed outside because do that, but like you know what, that'll wash the dirt away. So
Amen to that. It's fantastic. It's great, and it's President's Day. So kudos to all the wonderful presidents because now we get a day off.
amen. Amen to that.
It's so great. I mean, like, we are all artists, and especially the ones that are, in this business. We're storytellers and whatnot, but to be able to tell the story in a storyboard is pretty amazing because you're also not only articulating it, but you're also drawing sketching out the drawings and designing the characters. So that's a pretty fantastic job. Now we're gonna start all the way back. Were you born in New Jersey? You're out of Jersey,
Yes, yes. Long ago in a distant land.
huh?
We call New Jersey, yes.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
yeah, born there, raised there, grew up primarily in the suburbs for a good chunk of
Nice.
my life. And then, yeah, when I graduated from high school, I chose to pursue animation for my degree.
Huh?
I wanted to be a police officer when I was younger, just based off of the shows I liked. I realized like
Yeah.
that protecting aspect or superhero stuff. And then
Mhm.
I realized you had to read a lot of books. So I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to be a cartoonist. And
There you go.
now as an adult, I read books anyway. So it's like, all right, but
That's
yeah,
great, man. So you went to SCAD? That's
yes,
Savannah College of Arts and Design, right? In Georgia, correct?
yes. Savannah College of Art and Design in Atlanta, class of 2014, did 4 years there, met a ton of great people, and learned what it meant to be around other like minded individuals and creatives. And
Yes.
ran wild, had a lot of fun, learned fundamentals up to a certain point, and then after that, just continued to train on my own and sharpen my skills.
And next thing you know, you're on the Almost Famous Radio podcast with Jim Francis Mason. So it's great.
You dig? Something worked out.
Woo! Um, you it's so great to have met you at the pop-ups. Notice the pop-ups are these are great little small, like uh more intimate, if you will, comic cons, as it were. More and more people come to these, and I noticed there was a lot of people that turned out to the one in the LBC. Shout out to our girl Amy and Choke and Rome that were there, and all these
Yes.
wonderful, talented individuals. And of course, that's where you and I and my son struck up a nice conversation. And as I say, the rest is history, as the old adage would say. I like to dive into both feet and into um, what is it like when you started at SCAT? Take us through the process of you take a class and then you really realize that you're good at this, or were you always good at drawing? Let's back up to maybe when you're a child and you said you wanted to be a police officer, and the idea of helping others, superheroes. Were you drawn to that due to the cartoons, maybe on Nickelodeon and the FX, whatever, UPN or whatever they had, the cartoons that I remember? Were you drawn to this stuff before, and then you started sketching way back when?
Absolutely. So yeah, back then, so like you said, before school, um, growing up, I would watch Power Rangers. There was that team aspect, good versus evil,
Mm-hmm.
and bright colors and fighting. And I was just looking at some of my toys. Again, I had like a bunch of them lined up. I had like a 10-year on Facebook reminding me of like when I did that. So those are my folks' house. I got Transformers. I used to watch Beast Wars all the time. So I loved robots, superheroes, watching Justice League to a certain point, and other things that were on Fox Kids.
Right, Fox
Big
Kids.
one for me is Gargoyles. I've been rewatching it. It's been in my zeitgeist lately, and just the comics and everything really resonating with Goliath and his stoicism and leadership aspect. And
Nice.
I also do security now, so it's like the synergy of that and stepping into that. As much as I was like, okay, it's something to do, to pay the bills alongside of it, but I'm feeling more authority and helping people in that nature of getting to know them and just really being on the lookout for danger or something. Things sometimes easy to shy away from, but really stepping into that feeling, I'm understanding more what resonated with me and what I was drawn to when I was younger as an adult. So I would draw all the time. I draw. There's another show too called Vampires. So like I think these kids, they were at a junkyard, and then a meteor hit, then they got fused into their cars and stuff. So I just remember like the way I used to draw stick figures and robots and stuff too back then, and people. And yeah, I just kept going. I kept going, comics. And I had an older cousin who, he was an artist as well, and he would draw his characters. I'd be around him and my other cousin. They'd be playing Street Fighter, Marvel,
Yeah,
everything. So
I
and then,
resonate with the Street Fighters for sure.
yup,
That's
yup,
the video games. You can't, you go to the quarter machine, quarter slot
of course,
video
Cap,
game, deal with the laundromat, and you'd be playing and Street Fighters. It's a classic, man.
hmm. So
Good
he,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. I would
Was
they
there?
let me play. They'd had the I think PlayStation stuff back then. They'd let me play, but it'd be like, the controller plugged out, or they're like, wait your turn. So your button,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, I'm not really doing anything, but it still stuck with me. So I'd keep drawing, and that cousin unfortunately passed 14 years ago.
I'm
And
sorry to hear, man.
thank you. I'm older than him now than he was when he passed, which is crazy. So it's like,
Wow.
yeah, and I don't know, just remembering that, like that memory deep down, but also like why I was inspired to draw, who I had to like nurture up to that point. And my parents were supportive, always letting me draw and do my thing, and I was really shy into myself. So uh, yeah, can't stop.
We think it was kind of a catalyst, almost feeling like, I'm gonna prove myself somehow, like be able to do something that would have made my cousin proud in life. I think that could have been served as a catalyst to help you continue the dream, perhaps for your cousin.
For sure. He definitely, like I said, introduced me to a lot of other things too. When he
Mhm.
was older, he had joined the Navy and came back and brought a bunch of DVDs like Naruto and stuff, like circa 2006, I think. And so I'm like getting, that's when it came out. But he had like, I got the Japanese stuff. So like here's the cooler deep cut. And my other cousin too we had other shared interests too, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel and all those other series. So
Yeah.
both I was deeply influenced by like both of them, and
Buffy,
they were
wow.
they were a year apart, so they were best friends, best cousins, and yeah, definitely trying to carry that on for say them, myself, others who are inspired by the same shows or similar shows like I was as a kid. Because I'm as I grew older, I realized like what does it really come down to? We're like inspired by the flash and bang, but what were the shows actually teaching us to this day? Because a lot of things can be junk food, for people, but what's the substance behind it? So as I've matured, there's things I like, but there's things I stopped liking, and I'm like,
Yeah,
but then it's still go back to nostalgia things, right? We love nostalgia, so
nostalgia, nostalgia.
hell of a
So
drug, hell of a drug.
yeah, it really is. Like it's insane because you mentioned a lot of things, during the course of your conversing with me about growing up with your cousin and stuff, and I think definitely we always have kind of a role model, um, someone that throws her arm around us that's older. When you have that, it's almost mentorship, if you will, and helps us kind of sort of helps kind of write the passageway. It's like you have to do most of what they've done. It's a rite of passage, and it creates a blueprint for how we're going to live our lives in a sense. Something that sticks with you. A lot of things stick with you, and I think you're right about as far as as for the shows and teach you, a lot of teamwork and team effort and collectiveness and how you can work together and be in order to make the dream happen, right? As it were, like in order to do things, anything, if you work in team partnership, you tend to go farther because it's almost like the tentacles are everywhere and things happen easier versus if it's a one-man team. So this is great about it. And whether it's funny because even if there's a duality, because there's good and evil, and even if there's on the right side or the left side, they all work in teams. There's a teams of henchmen for the bad folks, but then also on the opposite side, just a position of that, you have what do you call it? You have the ones on the good side that also have their helpers, and so I mean everyone has helpers. Santa's got his helpers.
Yeah,
But in a fictional world again. But I love that. I like a lot of what you said. It reminds me of childhood as well, and I think I'm a few years probably older than you,
yeah,
maybe.
just a few.
Um, but it's who knows, maybe 10, 12 years. But a lot of it is the same, the teamwork, the work element that helps people get things done in life, and where the camaraderie, how to work with relationship. Like you and I right now, we're inner having an inner dialogue, introspective at times. We would talk a lot about what we've done and whatnot, and deep down, right? And it's such a profound deal. But the idea that two humans can come together virtually, thank God for for internet in that sense, in that respect. It's amazing. And I marvel at that because we're able to talk and we're able to interact, but we don't have those. Those are skills that are learned. There's people that are completely introverted that some people don't have the skill set, or they're socially awkward and they can't talk to others. So it's all that it's that's taught by way of these cartoons and buddy cop movies. And like
Mhm.
you said, you're kudos to you that you do the security work. I did security back in the day myself, or work with celebrities when I was younger. I was very young, and I like to think that I made the difference.
Mhm.
And there was, I was gonna tell you, there's an era of that when I met you, because you came across us, and not only kudos to you, and thank you for your service, because I know you're in the Air Force. We're also going to talk about that shortly, but I could feel it, man. Your energy is that of a person that's regimented and whatnot. So I want to talk about when you started college. What at time, or what point is a pivotal point moment where you decide, what, you did some particular project or something that really say, what, I think I can really do this for life. Like this is my pathway. This is my course of, if you will, of action. This is what I'm doing from here on out. What
Mhm.
what was it?
So in college, I remember I took principles of 2D animation, and it took me a little while to get into my actual coursework. We had general electives and stuff beforehand, fundamentals. So like sophomore year, I think finally started animation classes, and we had to learn on paper. So there was the drafting tables, and we're having to flip, drawing in the blue pencil, and I kind of learned. I don't say the wrong way, but I didn't understand my professor. Professor at the party, shout out to him. At the time, like on the process of like keys, in betweens, and breakdowns and stuff, and how you're supposed to get timing. So I don't think I got timing correctly. But there was a time I was drawing on the paper, and pencil was like, the first thing. So I felt like really confident in it, and I'm drawing a certain kind of way. And I sat there, I'm like, man, we're up here all night really doing this, but I felt like that glow that built up in my chest, like, yo, I actually like this though. This is dope.
Yeah.
And I don't animate on paper anymore. But
those days are long gone.
Yeah, we transitioned to digital, whether for timing. But in the season, I'm understanding the importance of paper, because a lot of the stuff becomes a wall. All the technology creates a hurdle to like actually get to it. So it feels like a lot more work than it actually is, than the simplicity of just what were the basics of sitting back down with paper and pencil, right? Yeah. I remember having that feeling at the time, like this was dope. And yeah, after that, like, yeah, I didn't understand. So I was like, the avoiding work at some point, like I do it. And then I learned, I did it, but then I was so focused on like being around other people and the social aspect that like I didn't put in as much mileage as I could have at the time. So probably get into the next question, like a transition of how I got into the Air Force after was like I went through college, had my fun, learned a lot, but I also learned like there's another component of how do you channel all that nostalgia and inspiration, or what is your why for being an artist? And
why it's important.
And I was there for work. Like, oh, you're in school to learn to craft a skill for work, right? So if you don't necessarily land a job or like procure the skills to show off to do this, you will be doing something else, right, to make money. And that's the lesson I learned later, when a lot of people were applying for jobs and other things and believing themselves. But I was kind of, like you said, a certain regimented, certain mentality, like, I don't feel like I'm good enough. I don't want to apply. I don't perfectionism. So I didn't really try. So then I ended up back at my folks after college and was teaching myself things I didn't learn in school, and really sat down like, okay, this is what it is. But then you're in your parents' basement and you're like, what am I doing? Still at the behest of telling me what to do. And I'm like, I'm in my office. Don't,
No, you're not. You're in the family's bathroom.
Right. Do your thing. Listen to us, and you're still under our house again. I'm like,
right.
So then I know I needed to change to break that cycle of thinking, and I needed to restructure myself. So my dad suggested the Air Force, and then I wanted an art job, and the recruiters made it seem like I was going to do broadcast journalism, and I didn't end up getting that. I got disqualified at the time because of my eyesight, but I kind of didn't want to do it anymore. I was ready to flip the table. Like, I'm getting out of here. Like, and no, it's fine. You're going to get that art job. It's cool. And then when I'm there, I went from like a period before I joined of like, I'm not doing it. I'm doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm doing it. And then, yeah, because I was like, I needed something that was going to fulfill my creativity. And I really never saw myself doing anything else. So this was like a complete ego death and ego shift to like, join. So I go through the process, I get there, and then they give us a list of jobs, and they're like, okay, so whatever your recruiter told you is basically not true. It's the needs of the Air Force. So you got to pick from this list of jobs. And if you didn't get what you wanted by the time you left, you got to go with these. So I was like, what? And a friend had told me, don't go open general. And I end up open general. So now I have to choose from this list of jobs. And I'm like, weather, security forces, services, medical, electrical, all these things I didn't care about. I'm like, what is this? So my little brother, he was little at the time, 18, 19 now, he liked reading disaster books, and I liked science. So at the time in school, so I was like, you know what, something different. I chose meteorology, so weather. So I picked that. Yeah. So I learned that skill set. Fast forward like 7-8 months at tech school, and perfectionism, like, I'm not quitting. I'm not quitting. I could have left. I like you could have stopped at that point and realized, but the game of it is, just go through with it. And yeah, it was a hard
That's
path.
great.
I tested well all the time, and then yeah, it was interesting to know. So like I'm seeing this weather now, and I'm like, yeah, I could look at the radar probably and check out what it is, but it's behind me. But the interest still peaks a little bit. Yeah, I
That's so cool, Errol. I'm hearing you out, and you really have mastered various skills, and the plethora of things you've done are fun because you're right. You said something super interesting that stood out to me, jumped at me, was you have to fulfill that need for creativity. There's got to be an outlet, and most definitely, I think by you being a meteorologist, regardless, you're still kind of in front of a camera, and you're still, you're being vocal about something. You're almost like you're interviewing the weather. And you
I
tell the
wasn't
weather.
in front of a camera. My mom would always say, "Why don't you go try to do that later? It would get you
Uh-huh.
on in front of the TV
Okay.
and stuff." But it was basically like I was a desk jockey. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
People like served and like, "Did you go out and see war and fight?" I'm like, "Nope."
Right. Let
Behind
me
the
ask you this.
four computer
I
screens, looking at weather, passing it off to pilots so they can go do their thing. It was great.
love it. I love it. So this is great stuff. I mean, you got some good skills. You've gained a lot of knowledge and skills that have translated into even the way you present yourself on a podcast, the way you present yourself in real life. When I've met you in real time, you're just like this all around great guy, easy to talk to, gregarious, happy, jovial. Just you're always going to be this person, and a lot of that is due to these classes you took. By the way, you just don't know it, but you exude confidence. You exude all these great skills. Let me ask you, do you so every meteorologist, every person that sort of has their finger on the pulse of the weather in this case, right, as it were. So there's you have to look at there's a certain I guess I don't know, for the lack of a better word, there's a certain database that you look at, or prior to, or you go online now and you look at something that kind of gives you a good idea where the weather's going. Is that what it is for everybody across the board, or what did you learn?
So, like military weather, Air Force weather, I'm not sure. There's civilian sites, right? Weather.gov
Hmm.
and other things, but
Hmm.
there's like models. There's different machines, whether satellites picking up different types of weather patterns,
Okay.
or machines like the FMQ-19. They're visually describe them. They're just like
Okay.
pillars, pieces of metal, and with different sensors on it that a rain gauge tells how much water goes in and stuff
Sweet.
like that. Or,
That's cool, man.
panels that can tell the temperature, right? And salometers that can shoot up and see the height of the clouds, things like that, right? So all that gets compiled through like databases and models. And I don't really know if I got to see this part of it, but they basically put there's websites we go to see maps, and you're able to like an algorithm that predicts what's
Okay.
happening
Right.
based off
Right.
of
Yeah.
data it's taken in, can see what's going to happen potentially in the future, and then there's records of what has happened in the past. So the
Yes.
models 6 hours out, 12 hours out, 18 hours out, always changing depending. And then there's
Mhm.
different models that are released on those increments for then different times going forward, whether hourly, 3 hourly, daily, and stuff like that up to a certain point.
That's
So
interesting, man.
some
Super
problems
interesting.
at the time, I think. And then yeah, so we do that, and you're checking different levels of the atmosphere of like different factors all contribute to
Right.
making tale of what the weather was going to be at that time. And if one thing is off, it could change. And most of the time, that was the part of help me with perfectionism. Is like you want everything to be right, you want to be able to this, but if you don't, you're like, but then oh, I got it wrong. I still get to keep my job. I'm not fired. Oh, okay. Right. The
Right.
consequences. It helped me with that. And then like as an artist, wanting
Yeah.
things to look a certain kind of way, and like it needs to be this. And if you're not, you're like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna try something else. So
It's good. It's good
yeah,
though. It's
that
good.
aspect of it was good and helped me to
You
like
want to. You always want to solve a problem. You're like always constantly solving. It seems, and it's an
exactly.
ever evolving thing. But you're always on to the next thing, and you're ready to evolve and change because you have to be malleable and watch things
Mhm.
as they improve, and then you hope to God that you can make them even better, which has helped you in. It brings us back full circle to where you're at now. So how
Problem.
does the military experience and all this influence the discipline for your storytelling?
How did all the structure influence my storytelling?
Yeah, for the style.
So, funny enough, I knew at the time there's types of stories that I really liked, and wow, creative writing back in the day. So I used to. You're a kid. You basically plagiarize stuff, right? You're like, this
Yeah.
is. I like the story. This is my story now. Change the names, and you're like, with Digimon. I used to love Digimon back in the day in Pokemon.
Oh, I remember Digimon.
I used to change the name from like Mon. I'd be like Trons and Cons and stuff like
Digimon.
that, and drawing my own versions.
Love it.
So with structure, I feel like I always needed a certain base or template of something I was inspired by, and I'd replicate, then repurpose and make it something else. So I'm really big on, I said, nostalgia and filtering that back out. And
Hmm.
in my artistry now, I've done a bunch of remixes for things, and I have more ideas for stuff I want to do. For storytelling, I think that was the difficulty for me. Back in the day, I had certain ideas that I really need to go revisit. Um, but it was a lot of style stuff and not substance. And I was realizing the if you don't want to make mistakes living your life, then you're not necessarily going to have experience. So you end up consuming a lot. And that's what I was doing to whatever I've been through, the dark times. I'm like, I want this, I want this. And you're really sedating yourself versus going through what you're feeling. So learning the things that we do like, that are put into films and television and stories, are things that people have gone through. And if you only consume and sedate yourself from what you're going through, you're not sharing your pivotal experiences that you've gone through to help that have helped you to then help someone else. So
Right.
I learned that in the previous couple of years to then now, okay, structurally, that's internally, what can I put back out and give back to the world in that way? But structurally, I studied Dan Harmon's story circle, like based off a Hero of a Thousand Faces, and like the
Oh yeah.
hero's journey was like
Vaguely.
exactly when I was
Yeah.
able to isolate that and lock in, I was able to start writing and studying stuff. So I'm a big MCU fan. Years ago around Endgame times, I like rewatched Phase One and broke down each film for like the 8 stages of the story circle and wrote like things. I never put it out, but it was just for myself to like understand. So then from there, I was able to like every time I watched something, I could see the plot beats of what they're going. So structurally, that's how I like to tell my stories when I'm writing. And now I'm like just working on actually sitting down and getting them done. Is that to a point I went back and I just went and studied storyboarding technically. And now I'm at the point where I was just doing, before I was doing the scripts that I was given and trying to learn the pieces of it. And now, okay, I'm ready to try to get some original stuff out there again. And I did a one-shot comic years ago just to prove that to myself of like, there's all these things I wanted to create that, but I never sat down and actually got one done. Then you can't really do it because we're getting like high off of all this stuff, like the ideas versus
Yeah.
the gratification, sitting down. And I equated it to working out. Like you don't
Mhm.
know what you'll look like at the end, but you know that if you keep putting reps in, you'll get good. You'll look a certain kind of way. So I had to sit down and really knock out this one shot comic and help myself prove that to myself, you know. So does that answer your question or did I ramble?
Yeah, no, no, no. It's great. I love it. I love it. Absolutely, absolutely. A well detailed answer, by the way. And you know, like you said, you know, you kind of it's almost like in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, you don't have to see the staircase. All you have to take your first step, right? And then everything else along the way, it starts materializing. And you made
Yeah.
a great reference to bodybuilding. As you can see, these muscles, you can't really see them because on here. No, you work out. You start ground zero, and you don't see, you know, you don't see the results anytime soon. And it's having the patience and the stamina and also the grit to continue on this trajectory without seeing automatic results. And so you don't have those hits of dopamine quite yet. It
Yeah.
takes a long time for you to start seeing, but nevertheless, it's important to take note that every step of the way is important, right? Because
Mhm.
it's building blocks to the next level and the next level until things materialize for you. And I love that. Let me ask you, when for someone that doesn't know, like myself per se, looking from the outside in, Do you develop a story? And it sounds really like a far left, bizarre, a question or dumb question, as it were. But for someone that doesn't quite grasp what you do, what is the thought process when you start? Do you write it out? Or as you go, you figure, maybe he's going to do this. Or perhaps I can, and can you also have the flexibility to change? Like nothing is set in stone because there should be a what do you call it? It should be open to perhaps maybe interject something else that maybe happens on a whim. How does all that work? That's a bad question.
So the skill set that I was learning, right? There's everything I studied and ingested as a child growing up to determine what I want to make, right? So I've had those stories. As a teenager, I had an idea that I'm revisiting constantly over the years that everything I learned goes to that idea. So I have yet to actually fully sit down and like work on it like in a manga format or a long form comic, but I did do conceptual sketches and drawings of it, but I never tried to tell it front to finish because I never knew exactly what it was. But I did like a concept in one of my classes of like what the first scene could be of like the story, and I wrote it out as a script when I was younger. And as I got older, it was the perfectionism, right? Like, but everything I did on the way was skill sets towards that because it ultimately comes down to like wanting to be a creator in a certain level of whether it's having my own show or my own comics or manga. Like I would draw Dragon Ball stuff all the time, and Akira Toriyama is like a great influence in that regard to a lot of people in my generation and before and after, right? So, but you have to sit down and do the work. So
Sure.
even with now social media watching stuff, we're seeing everybody else do it. So it's you're getting that high, like I said, of like, oh, you think you can do it, but until you actually sit down and do it, you can't really do it. And then there's the dissatisfaction and gap of your eye versus your hand. So
Sure.
for me, for my skill set of the structure for stories, I am now influenced by daily life. I'm learning like I'm in certain places for a reason. What did I experience? That
Yeah.
is supposed to be the genesis for some of these things, and then you put your spin on it versus creating from a vacuum or creating you saw something, it's been done already. Everyone's making this clone or
Right.
that clone of a show. What about it in your life that is unique to you can you inject flavor into your
Got it.
storytelling, right? So
Got it.
I'm learning that now. So you said like Bizarre, I love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the way he writes, and there's a format that Japanese manga artists use called Kisho Tenketsu. It's like the setup, the development, the twist, and then the resolution. And the three act structure in movies or Dan Harmon story circles, like the 8 points in that. So I'm like learning how to mesh those all together. But what is it about? What is the character driven towards to do? So like simple things of walking around doing security now at the mall. I had to check like a corridor, and the elevator was getting stuck, and it's like behind a restaurant. So I'm like, I go to check it out, and okay, it's not working. The other employees tell me it's not working, and I'm like, okay, it's not working. All right. So I step out, but then my mind went to like, well, what if all of a sudden it got closed and I got trapped and I went to this secret floor and then there was
Right.
a
Right.
garbage monster there and I had to defeat
Yeah.
the garbage monster in order to
To
like
open one of the other doors.
to get free. And then oh, now the elevator works, right? Like that was like in Chainsaw Man. There was like an elevator sequence or
Yeah.
something, I think, or
Sure.
where they couldn't get out because there was a demon doing something, and it's like okay,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it's like, what am I influenced by? Take it back, mix it with something that I'm going through, and then now you put it back out, right?
Sure.
So now my goal, you asked that part, but like, how do I do a bunch of like one shots like that on a
Yeah.
timeline that I'm not overworking myself or giving myself such great expectations that I'm like, this is too much work, and I stop. So I'm healing from that over the years to just clear my plate and focus
Yeah.
on the one bite at a time of a small thing versus like,
Sure.
but I want to eat this, I want to eat this, I want to eat this.
Yeah.
So hope that answers your question
That's
again.
yeah. Most definitely. I love it. I love that. I thought the same thing. When you and I are good, we got the same imagination. We're in sync. Suddenly I thought, oh, dude, if you maybe that's how the open a secret door, and then that door will open
Mhm.
something that was supposed to be functional, but you couldn't get to that until, I don't know, you played a flute, or you fed the
Vid-
monster. You know,
Video
this,
game stuff, right? The
yeah,
first like side
yeah,
scrollers or dungeon.
yeah.
It's
So
like,
I
oh,
think everything, it's interesting because what you said, I think everything was sort of built on, somebody else's, kind of like we're influenced, basically everything, including music. How it, I mean, at this point, we've done just about everything musically, and I'm going to step out of the subject matter. We're just going to use music as a reference, but you have all these genres, and people fuse the genres, and then they play with instruments. Have we have we reached the kind of like the uh, what's the word I'm looking for? The highest pedestal of music. Have we reached the extent or the extreme, the extent of where music can go? Most definitely not. I mean, there's so many other things you can explore and musically wise. But what I'm trying to get at is everything is influenced by somebody else. So it's not necessarily, I don't consider plagiarism, but I think that it's so great that over the last that we were born in the era that we have been born into, because we're able to look back at so much and be influenced by a lot of what we saw, that it helps kind of trigger something in our brain, in our psyche, that helps us develop kind of an our own take of a story. Because you can only, if you take life for example, as it were, you know there are only so many stories that
yeah,
that can be told. Everyone suffers from kind of the same things. Everyone goes
sure.
through the same sort of emotions. So at some point, it's almost, you're not regurgitating, but you're sort of taking something and telling it from your own perspective, I think. So I love that. And I really like your imagination, man, Errol. You're just so good at imagining stuff. I love that because it can be applied everywhere, and I'm sure you have a lot of fun at work. Such a vast mall, so many characters, and you get to see. You're probably like a good fly on the wall, just taking it all in. You're looking at people coming in and people watching. That's super important. And you're kind of like that superhero in the malls. Don't mess with the bad guys. Don't even think about it, because we're here, we're the good guys. And there's so much that I could think about just thinking of that scenario alone, which you've already probably so many times before have thought of. um
Mhm.
you're obviously talking about your faith. You're obviously, we're children of God. Myself, I'm a believer, and I thank God for everything, and Christ, my Lord and Savior. um do you ever think about doing a faith base, now that we're able to, the world is so dark, they have the Epstein files coming out, and the atrocities, and the murky waters, and it kind of, and it's so refreshing when you have like faith-based music. Yeah, Jelly Roll go up there with the Bible, at the Grammys.
Mhm.
Wow, it's never been done before. So there's a whole new, the floodgates are opening for people to tell, godly stories and faith-based music and whatnot, and what have you, like Angel Studios. And do you find that you could do something maybe creatively in the way of, in the future, perhaps, that's faith-based?
No, that's awesome. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. My journey with faith, I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school, so it was always just kind of like a story that you're being told, right? You know, just like get to choose it for yourself, and you're just like, so
Hmm.
it becomes
Right.
kind of humdrumminess, and you like fall asleep to it and everything, and they just become part of the thing. But what do they actually mean? And that goes back to what I was
Mm.
saying, like, what are the stories telling you, especially in the stuff that we're watching, even as kids? So as an adult, back when I was serving, like I went through just like a dark period of like life and breakup, feelings at the job, like what is my life, or like why am I having to do this when I was an artist before? And so it's like the identity thing, right? Identity schism.
Mhm.
Like now I feel like a failure. I'm not doing what I was called to do in that kind of way, and then learning to not live for myself. So in that, I started going to church and service at basic, and then later when I got to my base, just because I'm like, okay, clearly I'm doing something wrong because I this feeling of I'm not satisfied or like not fulfilled. So it was there at church I started to learn um, just how to, like, what does it mean to believe in God furthermore, like in something greater than yourself, and being community, and repentance for like old ways of living and things you believed in or would do that either hurt yourself, hurt other people, and like I said, this level of dissatisfaction with my life. So reading the word more, and even still back then, I was kind of like, I'd just be going along with it, just hearing stuff, you hear stuff, but
Sure.
and then that's another perfectionism thing is like, well, if I feel bad for doing all these things, I might as not as well. I don't want to be confronted with this. I'm gonna just keep going back and doing my own thing, right? But
Hmm.
there's little step at a time, change this habit, change this behavior, stop doing this. And I would around that time listen to a lot of motivational content and podcasts to reprogram my brain. And then
Too. Love it.
it helps a lot. Even still, I
Mhm.
wasn't fully in the word a certain kind of way. I'd go to sermons at church and hear stuff, and it'd fill me up for the week. And then by the end of the week, I'd be like, okay, back to let's go outside, let's party, let's do this. So
Sure.
realizing it's a lifelong journey of doing it, and even to this day, still there's ways I'm like, I don't know about that, but okay, let me lock in, right? But being disciplined, being a disciple, like you must do something over and
Discipleship,
over
bro. It's big.
to exercise that muscle, right? So
Yeah.
all the principles that translate across different spectrums. So
Hmm.
I finally started trying to read the Bible again from the beginning with some
Cover to
guy
cover.
from in like October, and I would always stop in the Old Testament, and I made it, excuse me, Genesis, but I made it past Genesis into like Samuel now with King David, who I would always hear about.
King
Actually,
David.
Saul's story. Finally, I'm in Saul's part, and I would always hear about Saul after he became king, before after he had fallen, before he had got selected. So I got that far into it, but I always hear about David and these stories of these flawed characters.
That's right.
God was still able to use them and move them for his glory in certain kinds of ways. So I'm like, that thought process, whether me always growing up learning film, loving film and television, influenced my brain. Like I see everything as a story. I give
Sure.
meaning to everything. Sometimes to the point of some things that aren't meaningful, right? And I always get told I'm an overthinker, and I'm like, but I'm
It's
like, if I do
good.
this, and there's this, and there's this, and this, and this, and I'm like, all my close ones are like, calm down. I'm like, but I can't. I need to. And then
It's better to
sometimes,
be an overachiever than an underachiever.
exactly,
Always. It's better to be overprepared than underprepared. Um,
exactly.
I want I love how you you clarified and everything and kind of put everything in perspective now. Because you think about the Bible, it's basically good and evil. So
Hmm.
it's perfect. I mean, if you look that translates into all the characters, there's got to be a problem. There's got to be a conflict.
Yeah,
If there is no conflict, people lose. It's just everyone's having a good time. Let's go to the ice cream party. That's the end of the story.
yeah.
So there's conflict and how you overcome that conflict. And there's a problem. And in the Bible is a perfect illustration of so many characters, so many disciples who
Hmm.
have who have fallen, who have, Jonah, obviously got swallowed by the whale because he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. He was sent out to do, and that's to give the gospel. So he got swallowed, but then he made it right. Right? He made right the wrong, and then the whale clearly spit him out, and
Hmm.
painfully say, yeah, it was crazy, but you know, um, it was great that he did that. It finally it set him straight and over, and then you have David and Goliath, the great story, right, of a giant and David. The giant obviously represents problems in our lives. It could be, and obviously, the Lord uses anybody to make magnificent things. So let me ask you something that popped into my mind as you were talking. Are you critical of when you see, do you have a critical eye? As you have a critical eye, we've come to understand with life and storytelling, the things that you see, the things that you experience day to day. I'm talking about a mundane kind of deal. You experience so much, right? As such as life, we experience a lot. Um, are you critical of somebody else's artwork? Um, Under your breath without actually telling this person, do you kind of go, oh, I would have done it this way? I always think that as an artist, that's kind of how artists are. Like artists, people are like, in your artistry, kind of like, this is who I am. Everyone's individual. Not that you're disrespecting, but you also think, I would have probably have done this different. But that's under your breath. Again, not telling somebody.
Hmm. There's certain things I'll probably see, and whether I would have done it this way or that way, right? And it's kind of
Yeah.
like my mother would say, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of like stuff I really laud over and I really like it. Or if I don't, I'm indifferent to it unless asked, right? Because it's sometimes some
Yes.
things unsolicited. Like, so I'm encouraging to, you did it, keep going. And that's the same. I try to take the energy to myself because, like, at least for some things, I may technically be better in a certain way, but at least this person believed in themselves, started here, got here, and then they're doing more than me. So who am I to say anything about in a certain level of critical, right? Unless they ask for a critique or something, or if I'm like, we're on that level, then I can offer a thing to help them pass that. But I really try not to, like, I'm not a hater.
No. And I didn't mean it by any extension, or you do know, I kind of thought not in that sense. I thought in the sense of, okay, so you ever hear a song and you said, dude, if I would have wrote that song, I would have probably have done this different. But you don't think, you just think of it. Like, in order, like, maybe the hook would have been longer, would have been really cool.
Oh, because, okay. So
in that sense, sort of. I'm thinking music wise, because I write music sometimes.
So that inspires me, right? It inspires me. Then, okay, well, instead of, if you would have, why don't you, right? And we have that ability to create and do stuff. And then, but this person maybe has less resistance, they got it out. So I was like, what is in me that'll stop me from doing the thing right? And I always love saying, people like, can't complain. I was like, don't complain, make change. If you complain, do something about it. So I'll either won't really bring up something, or I'll just be like, okay, well, that's nice, and keep pushing. I'll do something about it, or I'm like, it is what it is. And to answer your previous question about like making stuff, right, with face-based, I don't want to do anything one-to-one because the book is there, but it's also like, so this ties perfectly to that.
Right.
Sometimes there's certain music, I'm like, I don't want to listen to that. It doesn't move me. But instead of complaining about it, I just close my mouth. If I want it to be different, would I be the person to make this in a different way that it can be digestible for me, or to get the message through with the style that I like? And if I'm not gonna, I just close my mouth and I go listen to the stuff that I want to listen to. And I've been asked that sometimes, like, oh, why don't you listen to this music? I was like, I personally don't like it. I like this one. Instead of, I don't say anything furthermore about it. I leave it at that. Yeah. Or if I can go participate, then I can, what can I do about it? Otherwise, I keep quiet. So with the creation aspect, I want to translate the lessons I'm learning into storytelling. Like, what is the meaning of it? What verse or what parable can I share through that? And it's going to be a journey, because I don't know I'm going to do it immediately, but a story I am writing for, like, graphic novel later, I want to, like, okay, what did I learn along the way that is biblical that I could put into it? Because sometimes I'm kind of like that. This is too dark, or it's too this, it's too that. And I'm like, I had to stop that, because then that's the overthinking. And it's just like, okay, well, what is authentic or true to me right now, and how will that help? And it doesn't have to be perfect, because I'm not perfect. And as long as I keep improving and getting better along the way with my storytelling, that'll be the goal. And as long as I'm fulfilled and helping other people a certain kind of way, like in their face, pointing directions or handling situations, like at the mall doing security, it's like I'm getting my fulfillment from that. So I honestly haven't even been creating this past like month. I've just been like, whatever's in front of me, we're gonna get it done and ideate more things and take it all in accordingly. And then when the time comes, I'll release the pressure to like create on a scale.
You're recharging your batteries. Interesting. I think most of us do that. I sometimes don't do the podcast for a few days and then recharge my batteries. I was going to ask you, and then real quick, if you could do this all over again, would there be anything that you would tell your younger self to do differently, or would you do it all in the exact fashion it happened? After all, kind of our lives are, they say, are already cut out, for us in the manner they are. So you kind of have to go through what you go through. You do have free will, but if you go down this path, this is where it's going to end up. So you went out in this direction. Would you have done it different, and would you have done something completely entirely different, or you're fine with where you are now?
Ooh, that's loaded.
Always loaded questions, brother.
I heard a question like that on a podcast today, and they were talking about something that crazy that they went through, and it's like they would remove that because regardless of, oh, my life is this because of that, it's like just some things you don't want to go through, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
would I change things? I'd say yes, just because like the world is a crazy place, and it goes back to maybe stuff we're exposed to at a younger age that we're not supposed to be, just to
Yeah.
like, so it corrupts our mind or flaws our thinking later on, which then affects our habits and behaviors and thoughts that uh, cause us to start acting ways in future, which then we're reaping for it. So it's like I would tell my younger self, stay locked in, focus on that joyful creation of things. Don't rush to grow up. I see a lot of people nowadays and like kids, they're like trying to be grown. And I'm like, dang, when I was your age, was I trying to be that grown? Like,
No.
I don't know. Maybe. And it's like I had that critical eye now of
Right.
certain kids and doing stuff. And I'm trying not to be like, but I am. I was like, oh, I'm an unk now. I'm that age, like, oh, when I was your age, oh dang. So it's like, okay, well, what are you trying to get towards? How can I help you, advise you on that? But then to my life, I think I would just tell my younger self to like just be easy, be cool, focus on the joy of creation. Don't be in such a rush to be validated by everybody else or like really lock into yourself. But I think that is expressing yourself now came from a love of people regardless. Like I said, the stuff I grew up watching, team based, wanting to help people, it blossomed in a certain kind of way, but then in an environment that wasn't nurturing to that energy, that seed in me, right? So it kind of tainted it a bit. And then I think but life's journey is then healing yourself, learning, finding faith, something to keep you going, to believe in, and then helping people with that journey. And I'm reading this book called Hero on a Mission by Donald Miller that talks about that, where you can either be the hero, the guide, the victim, or the villain. So, what moments in your life are you going to choose to continue to live out to be a hero? And then once you learn them, be a guide and teach people. And are you going to be a villain and be like, this hurt me, so now I'm going to hurt other people? Or are you going to be a victim, like, oh my gosh, all these things happen to me. I
Yeah.
can't get a win. Life sucks. So yeah.
That's exciting. I think you're a wonderful person all the way around. You're gifted in so many ways. And the fact that you're able to give back, that is awesome. You're able to be of an influence to someone, obviously artistically, but I imagine that also you set people aside and talk to them about life and whatnot, and the prospects, that they can, the different goals and goal setting and that sort of thing for the younger generation. And people come and see you, and I saw people coming up to you and taking pictures and talking to you. What do you have happening down the pike in the next few weeks or next month, or you got any new pop-ups that I should know about?
Thank you for those kind words, though. First and foremost, I appreciate it. Really trying to believe in it and keep it going. Um, I don't have anything on the calendar just yet. I know maybe in May, I think there were a couple people there who said they had a convention coming up. So I have to just follow up with them and see if that's something I'd like to do. Same thing in March. I think there's another one at a comic book shop I visited the other day, that I have to research and see if it lines up. It's my birthday's next month too, so
No, wait. What's your what day?
March 22nd.
Dude, my son's March 27th and I'm March 9th.
Hey, Aries and Pisces. Okay, March. There we go.
Pisces, you guys are the Aries.
We're
You see,
united by March.
Pisces,
So there we go.
we match perfectly well. Um, I think Aries are a little more driven. Pisces are a little more. We're kind of lost in a mystical kind of a thing where we have all these great ideas. We're chasing different rabbits, and you guys are locked in. As my son's an Aries, and he's locked in a little more than I am. So I can't imagine. I've done a few things in my life. I can't imagine where he's already
Yeah,
surpassed me, because it's just driven. He's locked in, he's driven.
I
I'm
think
so
that's the
grateful
kicker,
our
though.
time is up.
I think that's the kicker, though, is making sure we're locked in on the right thing. Because there's so many
Yeah,
times I've been locked into things that necessarily weren't the right thing, but then it's life's lesson is then to learn and redirect and pivot, right? So
yeah.
that's where you
You
come
got to
in,
pivot right.
right?
You do, and it's a longer way. You can't change your ways, but it's a longer way around to have to start over. It's like Candyland. Remember olden days? You get to start all the way at the beginning, man. So it's not, you kind of have a It's always you can change your ways, but it's a lot easier to start off on the right path from the beginning. You kind of get a head start.
You suffer because you
Our
hold
time
on.
is up, man. Errol, I am excited to have had you on the show. Thank you so much for joining me today on this magnificent journey. This is fantastic. I can hardly wait to see it. When it rolls out, and I'll let you know fairly shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, Errol Petgrave III, guys, amazing. I will be following you. Your real quick, your social media handles. I have them right under here. Do you notice it's just
I see.
cruising through the bottom? Is that it across the board through like Facebook, MySpace? No, I'm kidding.
MySpace.
Facebook.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Took it
Uh,
back, huh?
yeah, Jim, thank you so much. I appreciate those kind words. Thank you for having me. This has been amazing. My Instagram is, as you see down there, Eros_Aries. Same thing on Threads. Then on Twitter would be Twitter X, whatever. It would be an underscore after with Roman numeral 3, Roman numeral I. Facebook, I can be reached on all the platforms from there. There's a link tree on my Instagram and stuff. So
Good.
just trying to get back in and be productive and post because I'd love to start tabling it. So thank you for stopping by that day because I used to do that all the time in North Dakota, like pop up, pop up, pop up. Remember
Yeah,
to be a creator. So I reinvigorating that part of me.
that's
So
right.
yeah, Jim, thank you so much for having me. This is a pleasure.
God
Yeah.
bless you, brother. May the Lord continue to bless you and keep you. You're fantastic in every way imaginable. And the next thing I could tell you is I look forward to meeting you again. Let's meet up for coffee. Let's break bread soon. Hello and goodbye until we meet again. That's my show, guys. Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much
much, man.
for tuning in to Almost Famous Radio Podcast. Yours truly. Thank you, Errol. Peace.
Peace out, y'all.